What is going on, everyone? This is your daily dose of mental health with Adam, and in today's video we're going to be talking about why THC edibles are so much stronger than regular cannabis in regards to vaping or smoking it, and we're going to be going over kind of the scientific process on why edibles hit so much harder, and also what you can do about it. So what you can do about it in regards to if you're going through, if you've eaten an edible, and what you can do to reduce those paranoid feelings where you don't feel like you're yourself and whatnot. I'll be going over some things that can help, because let's be real honest, we've all been there at some point in our lives. So let's go ahead and just jump right on into this video and let's get right to it. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so the real difference between edibles and smoking or vaping is that with edibles, a much larger fraction of Delta-9 THC makes it to the liver first. When you eat edibles that contain Delta-9 THC, which is tetrahydroxycannabinol, your liver converts about 50% of activated THC to 11-hydroxy-THC. Compared to smoking, you're not going through that process. So really the big difference between edibles and smoking first is that it's how it affects the metabolic pathway. So when you're smoking it, it really just hits your lungs, and that'd really be it. But outside of that, when you eat an edible, it's going and it has to be digested and processed by your liver. That's why a lot of people sometimes eat too much of an edible at first. I mean, they eat too much of it over time because they eat it, they're like, why don't I feel it 20, 30 minutes later? And then it kicks in an hour later and you've consumed more, and then you just start feeling it hardcore. So the difference boils down, really, as I said, is metabolic pathways. There is a collective variety of different and interesting ways to consume cannabis, obviously. However, out of all of the methods, edibles are known to be the most potent. And I say that again, out of all THC products, edibles are always going to be the most potent. If you've never had edibles before, even a 5 milligram edible can sometimes be way too much for you. Also, they are associated with highs that are much longer in onset, duration, and with an increased psychoactive effect, once again because it hits the liver. Edibles are, and you have the first pass effect going on as well. Edibles are also notorious when it comes to some levels of predictability. They take unpredictability. They take much longer to kick in, and as opposed to smoking it, making it much easier to overdo it, which is true. Smoking and vaping are far easier to control, as users simply take these things and they take a toke. You see how you're feeling. A couple minutes later, if you don't feel it, you take another toke. You can kind of, that way, feel what you want to feel at a quicker rate. Also, and once again, what I'm doing here is I'm just going into the background of what it is. We're gonna be talking about, in about 5 or 10 minutes, we'll be discussing, once again, how to get through a very powerful, strong high that is very uncomfortable. And this can be with smoking, or in particular for people who are using edibles. So 11-hydroxy-THC isn't actually found in the cannabis plant, and it's not even an ingredient in your cannabis edible. This potent medicinal chemical is actually created by your body when it breaks down the THC, which is very interesting, which is the 11-hydroxy-THC. So when you ingest THC orally, this powerful and plentiful cannabinoid travels through your digestive system and eventually makes it to your liver. So really right now I'm just going to break down, if you eat an edible, what's going on metabolically. So you eat one, it will eventually make it to your liver, where it's broken down into molecules called metabolites. Several metabolic enzymes also play a role in the process, which is referred to as we've mentioned before, the first pass metabolism. Really, the first pass metabolism breaks down THC into 11-hydroxy-THC, which once again, it's really 11-carboxy-THC. And also many researchers believe that the effect of 11-hydroxy-THC is four times stronger than THC when it comes to psychoactive effects, which contributes to edibles feeling stronger than other delivery methods of cannabis. Sorry, my words are everywhere. So think about that, 4 times stronger, and it all has to do with when you eat an edible. Think about it, goes down your throat, travels through your GI, travels through your stomach, then goes through your GI tract, and then from there it's metabolized by your liver. And it can take a while for this to happen, but once it's metabolized, that's when you're going to start feeling it. And that can be an hour and a half after you consume it, and it produces 4 times the effect. So if you're thinking about taking an edible, be very, very careful at first in understanding that even if you just consume like 2 milligrams or even 5, do not do 10 if you've never used them before. If you consume 5 milligrams, remember, do not try anything for at least an hour and a half after. My motto in general when it comes to stuff like this, or in the past when I was using them, would be start low and go slow. Okay? So real quick, here's a fun fact. The human brain contains more CB1 receptors than opioid receptors. This is one of the many factors that contribute to the quality of high people get from cannabis. Think about that. That's why people like smoking. You actually have more CB1 receptors than opioid receptors. So what do we know about 11-hydroxy-THC? So really what we know is 11-hydroxy-THC has more profound effects through a massive pool of anecdotal experiences documented over the years. While there hasn't been nearly enough research on the specific medicinal effects of cannabis, consumers have been enjoying the benefits of edibles for their medical needs for thousands and thousands of years. Much of the scientific research on 11-hydroxy-THC is older and unfortunately focuses more on the ability to detect in urine samples and blood samples, as well as bioavailability rather than psychoactivity. So this is just kind of background on what we know about 11-hydroxy-THC, which obviously is referring to an edible. Not smoking. This is about what to know about edibles, and I'll talk about how you can reduce the effects of the high in a couple minutes, okay? So bear with me. The benefits of edibles. Let's go over some of the benefits. For one thing, edibles have longer lasting effects. While they take longer to start working, which I already discussed, 60 to 120 minutes, as opposed to 3 to 10 minutes when smoking. Shit, with smoking sometimes it can be instantaneously. Man, one time when I was in, I'll never forget, college, I ripped the bong so hard. So hard. And I knew instantaneously that I was fucked right away. I'll just put it that way. Also, real quick, edibles can last much longer. It can sometimes last 20 to 30 hours. I mean, if you eat a 100 milligram brownie, think about it. You will go to sleep and you can wake up high. A cannabis edible high usually last 6 to 8 hours though, while the high from smoking only lasts around 4 hours, depending on the consumer tolerance. But if you eat a lot of an edible, it can last a day. I've seen it happen to people. This is huge, real quick, before I go into what we can do to relax when you're going through one of these experiences and just calm your nerves. Real quick, be sure to eat before you medicate. There are some circumstances where you may not feel much of an effect from an edible, and this is kind of confusing, so I want to clarify this. After consuming edible cannabis, the liver performs the first pass metabolism, and sometimes here, many cannabis patients and enthusiasts experience some problems, surprisingly. And you might ask, what kind of problems? So the liver is very good at breaking down foreign compounds, which then it breaks down when you're breaking down THC in the edible to produce too much of an effect, often referred to as the first pass effect. The liver's initial metabolism can mean that the effects of the edible will not work. To resolve this, try eating a meal, and this is what I would say. Try eating a meal prior, and it can increase the concentration of cannabis up to 3-fold, and overall last longer as well. So if you take an edible and you have nothing really in your stomach, that first pass effect will actually destroy nearly 50% to 75% of the edible, or the 11-hydroxy, because once again, our livers are very good at breaking down something. It has to in order to survive. So if you eat something before, your liver is, okay, it's been working. So then when you take in cannabis, a lot more will escape, and it can make that high it can make you even higher. So one thing I will say is, the big thing is, if you're going, and this is where it can be kind of tricky, if you're going to consume an edible, an edible and you didn't feel it in the past, eat something before it. Eat something before it because you're more likely to get more out of it. However, if you've never used an edible before and you're concerned you're going to get too high, do not eat anything before it. So do not eat anything before it because it will reduce the effects of it. It won't, because of the first pass effect. Okay? So I just wanted to go over some of the background. Now, real quick, this is the big part. So how do you handle a cannabis-induced panic attack? Once again, cannabis doesn't affect everyone in the same way. And even if you're a seasonal consumer, you might not have the same reaction every time you use it. And that's true. Just depending on the cannabinoid levels in it, and just the different variations of molecules, CBD, THC. There's so many different components now in it that you just might not know. So sometimes also it might not work exactly as you intended, whether you're increasing it to ease your mental health symptoms or stimulate your appetite. But other times it may increase feelings of stress, anxiety, and especially if you're using a product high in THC. So once again, some cannabis-induced anxiety, and I go over this just so you know that this is common. So if you're going through right now a panic attack and you're actively high, just take in what you can right now. Just know that if you're having, for example, cannabis-induced anxiety, if you're having that, sweating or shaking, if you feel like your heart is racing, trouble breathing, intense feelings of fear, chest pain, stomach pain, dizziness, these are common. They're common. They're very common, and that's what I want to let you know first. You're not dying or having a heart attack, okay? And also people feel like they're losing control of their mind, dying. As I said, just hear me out on this. You're not dying. I've been through it. We've all been through it. If you've used cannabis, in particular edibles. Remember this also. Please remind yourself you're not in danger. You're not in danger. Panic attacks can feel different for everyone, but it's not unusual to wonder if you're experiencing something serious, such as a heart attack or overdose, especially if you've never had a panic attack before. So the fear also that happens feels very real. The threat, however, now this is the big thing. The threat of whatever you're going through is not real. And reminding yourself the panic can pass will help you start to calm down. So right now I want you to, if you're by yourself or with someone else and you're listening to this and you're feeling like you're going to die and whatnot, I want you right now to remind yourself you are not going to die. You're not. I promise. I want you to right now tell yourself you're not going to. It's going to be okay, because it will be okay. Okay? This is normal. It can happen. And you learn from each experience. So first, here's a calming exercise. Sit down somewhere comfortable, the sofa, the floor, or even a chair. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. So take a deep breath with me. And out. Okay, now say, I'm safe, I'm having a panic attack, I will feel better soon. So let's say it. I'm safe, I'm having a panic attack, I will feel better soon. I will feel better soon. Repeat this. So repeat what I've been saying and just deep breathe naturally. And I'm telling you, you will start to feel better. Another thing you can do is keep calm and eat something. Now, once again, in general, even if you're having a panic attack, I know we discussed this a little earlier, having something, and I'm not saying just eat a lot but if you're having this and you're not feeling like eating, if you have anything near you, for example, a popsicle or just a snack, it'll help you focus your emotions and everything on that, to where once again it'll relieve some of those feelings. And also, if you do have by any chance, and this is for anyone, lemons have been found to bring down the effects of a THC high. And even there are some studies that show that if you've used an edible, if you put pepper on your tongue or lemon, if you have access to that, just sucking on a lemon can really reduce the high. So one reason is the terpenes on them can help ease the effects of the THC. But I don't want you to worry about that right now, okay? So if you have a lemon though, if you have one on hand, just squeeze some into a glass of water, cold water, add some sugar or honey to it, and then just start sipping it. And I'm telling you, it'll be sour, but it'll really help take your mind off those feelings, those racing thoughts. Try some deep breathing, as I've said. Continue to do that because hyperventilation can happen. So really focus on the breath as well. And if you're with friends and you can't say I'm going to be okay out loud, just take some deep breaths in and out slowly. Focus on your diaphragm, and you'll even feel your heart. You'll feel like it's beating very, very quickly. Don't worry about that. You're okay. Just focus on your breathing. It will relieve. It will start relieving. I'm telling you, you'll start feeling better. Also, alternate nostril breathing can help. So if you close one nostril like that, or you can even, if you are by yourself, close a nostril, breathe in slowly 2 to 4 seconds, and alternate. So that can really help, and that can help bring down that feeling as well. And also, I just want to go over one more thing. Just remember as well, if you don't have access to any of these things and you're at home, always using some cold water. Cold water can really help. If you've noticed these, if you're watching it via video, these pictures I've put up, they're all meant to help relax you. So if you have to go back and watch this video again, that's completely fine. And I'm telling you, your anxiety will start to come down. I do this, and you might ask, why are you doing this? I've been there in my past. I'm just here to help you and give you a feeling and sense of relief that you will be okay and you will survive this, okay? I'm telling you, you will. And lastly, real quick, this is your daily dose of mental health with Adam. I love you all. The next video I will be dropping is going to be what it is like in an inpatient setting as an RN, and what day-to-day looks like for me when I work on a high acuity unit. Now, if you have to watch this again, I said, go ahead and watch it. You will relax. You will be fine. I love you all. Check out some of my other videos as well. This is your daily dose of mental health with Adam. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment. I love you all.